Hey everybody, in this video we are going to find surface area and volume of some composite figures. Composite figures just means more than one figure put together. Okay, so let's start with the surface area of this right here with the pyramid on top of a prism. Okay, so for the pyramid, surface area is area of the base plus 1/2 perimeter times slant height. For the prism, surface area is 2 times the area of the base plus perimeter times height. Now on this pyramid, we've got a base right here, but that base is covered up by the prism. So on the surface, the pyramid does not have a base. And for the prism, I've got a base down here, but this base up here is covered up by the pyramid, so there is only one base on the surface. So our surface area is the area of the pyramid, 1/2 perimeter times slant height. Now the perimeter is 6, 12, 18, 24, so I'll put a 24 here for perimeter, times the slant height, which is right here, and I do not know the slant height. So I'm going to use the Pythagorean Theorem. So a side is 6, which means this half side is 3. So I've got leg squared plus leg squared. That's 3 squared plus 6 squared. 3 squared plus 6 squared equals the hypotenuse, which is L, the slant height, squared. Okay, so 3 squared plus 6 squared is 45, and the square root of 45 is 6.71, and I'm going to keep one extra digit because I'm going to end up rounding later, so I'll go with 6.708 for the slant height. Okay, so it's always a good idea to keep an extra digit when you're rounding so you can round down one more later. Okay, now we will add to that the surface area of the prism, which is the area of just one base, and that's 6 squared, because it's a square with side length of 6, plus the perimeter, 6, 12, 18, 24, times the height of the prism, which is 3. So half times 24 times 6.708, or I can be even more precise by just bringing in that previous answer, plus 6 squared plus 24 times 3. And I get 188.498. Now it does say if we need to round, we'll round to the nearest hundredth, so that's 2 decimal places. The 8 is big enough to bump that 9 up to a 10, so it's 188.50. So the surface area is 188.50 inches squared. For the volume, the fact that bases cover each other up does not change how much space is inside of this figure, so we will not have to cross anything out on volume like we did on surface area. So for the pyramid, the volume is area of the base times the height divided by 3. And for the prism, the volume is area of base times height. Okay, so for the pyramid, we have area of the base, that's a square with side lengths of 6, so that would be 6 squared, times the height, which is 6, divided by 3. And we will add to that the volume of the prism, area of the base, 6 squared, times the height, which is 3. So we have 6 squared times 6 divided by 3, that's the pyramid, plus 6 squared times 3 for the prism, and we get 180. So the volume is 180 inches cubed. Okay, next we have a cone and a cylinder. So for the cone, surface area is pi r squared plus pi rl. And for the cylinder, the surface area is 2 pi r squared plus pi dh. Now we have a base right here for the cone and the cylinder, where they cover each other up. So that means the cone does not have a base, so there is no pi r squared for the cone. The cylinder is also missing a base on the surface. It only has the one base down here on the surface, so not two bases, just one base. So the surface area is pi rl, pi times, and the radius of that cone is 3. So pi 3 times L, the slant height, and that is right here. So we're going to use the Pythagorean Theorem. So we have 3 squared plus 4 squared, that's leg squared plus leg squared, equals the hypotenuse, which is the slant height, squared. That's 9 plus 16, or 25, equals L squared. And the square root is 5. Now you might just recognize the 3, 4, 5 right triangle. So we have a slant height of 5. And we will add to that the cylinder, which only has one base, so it's just pi r squared, not 2 pi r squared, so that's pi 3 squared, plus pi dh, pi times diameter, which is 6, times the height, which is 4. Okay, so this time, it's not necessary to round. We just won't put pi in our calculator, so we'll get an exact answer. 3 times 5 plus 3 squared plus 6 times 4 is 48. So that means our surface area is 48 pi meters squared. Then the volume. For a cone, the volume is pi r squared h divided by 3, and for a cylinder, the volume is pi r squared h. And the fact that this base right here is not actually on the surface does not change the space inside, so we don't have to cross anything out on volume like we did up here. So the volume is pi 3 squared for the cone times h, the height, which is 4 divided by 3, plus the volume of the cylinder, pi r squared h, so that's pi 3 squared times, and then the height of the cylinder is 4. So we have 3 squared times 4 divided by 3 for the cone, plus 3 squared times 4 for the cylinder, and we get 48 again. So the volume is 48 pi meters cubed.